Greetings to all. Today, we'll be delving into the topic of offenses affecting life and particularly the topic of murder. So, murder is undoubtedly one of the most heinous crimes that have happened to the human calendar. This involves taking away a human life deliberately in a premeditated manner, often disregarding the consequences. Murder is an aggravated form of culpable homicide, which is to say that culpable homicide is a genus and murder is a species or a specialized form of culpable homicide. Section 300, which primarily deals with the offense of murder, says that except in the cases hereinafter accepted, culpable homicide is murder. So, in the starting sentence itself, it has been stated that murders are kept under culpable homicide, which is to say that every murder is a culpable homicide, but all culpable homicides are not murder. Murder, as contained in section 300, consists of two parts. The first part of section 300 deals with four clauses, and the second part of it deals with the exceptions, the five exceptions under which we can say that these are culpable homicide not amounting to murder. So, first comes the cases or the clauses where culpable homicide is murder. Firstly, it is regarded as murder if the act is done with the intention of causing death. Secondly, it is murder if the act is done with the intention of causing such bodily injury as the offender knows to be likely to cause the death of the person to whom harm is caused. Thirdly, is the cases where it is done with the intention of causing bodily injury to any person and the injury which is caused is sufficient in the ordinary course of nature to cause death of the person. And fourthly comes the acts which are so dangerous, so eminently dangerous, that they in all probability cause death or such bodily injury which the offender is having the knowledge that they are so dangerous. But he does those acts even after having taken such risk of causing death or injury. Coming to the exceptions of section 300, and these are the cases where we can say that culpable homicide does not amount to murder. These includes firstly grave and sudden provocation. Grave and sudden provocation are the cases where the person, due to the provocation given by the deceased person, acts in a way which is so sudden that he is unable to understand the consequences of his act and he commits the death of that person who has given the provocation. Now, there are things to be understood in case of provocation. Firstly, that the provocation should be genuine, or whether is to say that the provocation should not be voluntarily sought, which in turns means that the offender which has causing death, that offender has not literally seeked the provocation given by the person, the deceased person. Secondly, provoke any public servant who is doing his duty cannot be said that he has provoked the offender. So, and likewise, for the right of private defense also, we can say that if a person is exercising his right of private defense, it cannot be said that he has exercised his the offender has been provoked by the exercise of such right of private defense. Second comes the exception of exceeding the right of private defense. Now, right of private defense firstly is a right of defense. It is not a offense, right of offense or committing offense. So, and this right does not include every time going to the extent of causing death. Exercise of right of private defense should be in correlation or in equation with the fear which the person is having. So, if a person exercises his right and that right of private defense exceeds to the case that death is caused, so in that act or in that case, the person will not be held guilty of committing murder, but he will be held guilty of committing culpable homicide not amounting to murder. The third exception comes in the form of public servant exceeding his duty. If the public servant he is exercising his legal duty or he's exercising his duty which has been sanctioned, which has a sanction of law, he has a legal duty and he's exercising that duty. In the exercise of such duty, if he exceeds his power, his legal power, to an extent that it causes death, so in that case, that public servant will not be held liable for committing murder, but in that case, he will be held of committing culpable homicide not amounting to murder, provided that the public servant has without any premeditation, he has just acted on the exercise of his legal duty. The fourth exception comes in the form of sudden fight, which does not include premeditation of any act of causing death, but it starts with a quarrel. The fight starts with a quarrel, and there is exchange of blows. The difference between sudden fight and provocation is that in this case, the provocation in sudden provocation or the exception one, the provocation is given by the deceased person, while in this case there is an exchange of blows and which can lead to the provocation, which can be or which is given by any of the sides. So in that sudden fight, death is caused, and due to this suddenness of act, this is not regarded as murder, but culpable homicide not amounting to murder. The last and final exception of Section 300 is contained in as consensual death or consent. Now, if the person is above 18 years of age and he gives the consent of his death, the person who commits the act or who commits the death of such consenting adult is not held liable for murder but of culpable homicide not amounting to murder. These are which also suggest that there is the consensual death has not been or the mercy killing has not been recognized in our Indian laws, and there are charges of this also. After that, we can also say that the difference between culpable homicide and murder lies in the fact of or lies in the probability of causing death of the person. Where the probability is greater, it is murder, and where the probability is less, it will be culpable homicide not amounting to murder. Thank you.